Until you're actually in a catastrophe, you don't know how you behave. You'd like to think you'd be the person who wouldn't leave anybody behind. Put others before yourself. But would you? You know, in times of catastrophe, some people find their humanity, but others, they lose theirs.
I was very excited to be invited to this conference. And at the beginning, I have to admit, I have a friend, Christopher Irvin. I work together with him, another person named Kisa Muhammad. And it's together that we produced this course here. Christopher is the filmmaker. He's also an excellent, I won't call him a forger, but he can make any document that exists. And in fact, we had military documents in this course that were too good, and we were told that we had to alter them so that they didn't actually look like the exact real thing. This is the first time that I've ever shared this message, although I've been thinking about it ever since I went to the CDC, when after the first year of the class, they were interested in reaching the college-age population. They invited me down there to have a little talk. And since then, I've been thinking about this, and I thought there's no better place or any place I would more like to share this than here. And I especially, I don't know, is Lydia in the room right here? Well, I just want to say I appreciate her courage for having this conference. I don't know all the details, but I know it wouldn't necessarily be easy. When we were getting ready to launch this class, we had significant opposition from many, many different quarters. And I won't go into those details since I'm still working at the university. But it actually took a letter from the CDC to calm some fears and for the course to go ahead. So I know besides being a good academic person, Lydia must be also a courageous person. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Okay. Now I don't have a PowerPoint, but I want to share with you I guess I was trying just to get a picture. Anybody know what that is? I guess it kind of probably says it, right? Yeah. That's the seed vault in Norway. Actually, I thought it was an urban myth, a legend, like a myth. And all of a sudden I found out it was real. And in this vault, and it's one of only 5 or 6, is preserving of seeds for some kind of catastrophic or apocalyptic event. And at the end of the course that we have, one of the last things we do is we challenge the students that if you were to survive an apocalyptic event, what would you want to bring forth if there was the opportunity to begin again? Starting with seeds, you have to have agriculture. And these other vaults, these other seed banks, have different types of seeds. Some of them have different plants, and it's just amazing. There's one in Wakehurst, England, right at the Royal Botanical Gardens. They have 40,000 known plant species there. I'm sorry, there's 40,000 known plant species, and by the year 2020, they hope to have a full 25% of them right there. Then we also have in India, there's a place in India that has a seed bank where they have tried to collect all the unpatented seeds in the world. Did you realize that you can actually patent seeds? Therefore, they're proprietary? They're collecting as many of the unpatented seeds as they can. And then there is Fort Collins, Colorado, right at Colorado State University. They have genetic material of plants, of pollen, of insects. It's another place where these things are being collected. And the oldest one actually goes back to Russia. In 1912 it began. They have about 12 research stations where they have about 60,000 variety of seeds. And so I started thinking about that, but then getting back to the students, what other things? You want to bring the seed of agriculture with you because, in essence, all food comes from seed. You grow seed, even the animals that we eat also, they don't grow from seeds per se, but they eat what is growing from the seeds. No seeds, no civilization. So this is already happening. This is already happening around the world. Bill and Melinda Gates helped to fund this. But I want to ask you, I know we only have a limited time till 1 o'clock, but I want to ask you to do a brief activity at your table. What are the other seeds, so to speak? What else would you want to bring with you? Try to think of one or two things. You have about 2 or 3 minutes. Yes, a Rosetta Zone. Excellent idea. Other ideas? What would you want to bring? Herbs and plants? Was that a hand in the back? There's some other things. What makes up civilization? Basic tools and the ability to craft other things. You have to have medicine for surgeries. Let me show you something. Many of you, I'm sure, are already aware of this. I'll get right back to you. When I was with the CDC, visiting them, and that is such a cool place. Scary. I'm standing there, I'm getting the tour, and the guy says, 80 yards over there are the most deadly pathogens known in the world. And I said, did you get a little nervous about coming to work here every day? He says, no, this is actually the safest place to be. And I asked them, the CDC, the Red Cross, and things like that, they're very good at working at the level of disasters and even catastrophes. I see these things in a ranked hierarchy. We teach that in the class. They're not the same. You have to prepare for them differently. You have to respond differently. So there's the plan for 3 days, food and water. But there's also this too. There's a number of strategic national stockpiles around the country. They wouldn't tell me where they were or anything, but there's a number of them. And they say within so many hours, they can get medical supplies and equipment to where it's needed. Now, a disaster can often be handled on a fairly regional basis. When you move up to a catastrophe, the resources need to be even broader. When you go to an apocalypse, it's an entirely different event. You can't monitor the apocalypse. You can't manage the apocalypse. You can't set up the command structures and all of that for the apocalypse. Because as we know, apocalypse means not the end of time, but the end of time as we know it. The passing of one era and then a new era. So you're not looking to conquer the apocalypse. We're looking for a remnant to survive. And with that remnant, what do we want to take? All these things that you'd say, but I would say we need some other seeds as well. We need the seed of literature, as was mentioned, and I'll show you one quick site on this. This is fantastic, I think. Internet Archive has launched a project to physically store at least one copy of every book. We need to do that as we move forward. So there is the seed of books and all that comes with that. But I say we also need the seed of music, the seed of art, the seed of dance. We need those seeds as well as what we've already started here with agriculture, with medicine and supplies, and with books. Now, there has already been, it was not expected, but from the seed vault in Norway, there's actually been a withdrawal. We didn't think this was going to be happening until 50, 100 years in the future. But Syria is so devastated, and Syria had been making deposits into that bank of their seeds, and now they needed to make a withdrawal. There was actually a seed bank in Aleppo, of all places, having some of the most ancient grains known to mankind. They're part of the agricultural Fertile Crescent and where, this all began. So it was relocated to Lebanon, and in Lebanon, they're starting to grow some of these seeds again to be able to be taken back once we can go back into Syria. Now, so you see this, and you see that these are different places. The Internet Archive for Physical Books is in San Francisco, and I mentioned all these different places: Colorado, Russia, England, India. They're like all over. But that presents certain challenges. I titled this little presentation here, The Ark of the Academy, because I wanted just simply I don't have an answer, a complete answer, but I want to pose to you a question to consider for discussion. And as Natasha said, I think it was her, we need to begin writing the new story. What is this new story going to be? And so, let me show you, I want to show you a map of Colorado State University, where one of these, I wish I could, I don't know, Lydia, could I get some help with making this bigger? I come from Michigan State University. Here's what I'm proposing, so I want to get it out so we can maybe have a chance to talk a little bit. Again, first time sharing this, I just want to get the idea out there. It would have all kinds of barriers, challenges. Some I'm sure would even consider to be foolish. But do you know they actually built an ark in Kentucky? Check it out, Ark Encounter. I mean, it is nearly 600 feet. Now, it's not to be an ark to put people in. It's a theme park. But since they opened in July, you got to see this thing, man. It is massive. I'd actually almost like to go and see it. I feel funny about having to pay, though, to get on the ark. They've had 400,000 visitors already. So I'm not talking about a religious ark, but what I'm proposing a conversation about is looking at the academy, looking at the universities as potential arks. Not religious. You look at here, oh thank you, you look at here, you have a campus here. I don't have a thing to point at, but right in there is, they have where this genetic seed place is. But they also have education. They also have zoology. They also have engineering. The green button. So they have a clinical center for medicine. This reminds me of MSU. We have all that, and I haven't been to Colorado State, but we have our own source of water. We have our own source of power. We have our own police force. We have schools of medicine, schools of music. All these things, kind of like the animals, to bring into an ark. In fact, they're already there. Now, one ark may have been good enough back in the days of Noah, because it was just him and his family and supposedly a whole bunch of animals. We need multiple arks, my idea just to talk about is at least several on the 7 different continents. So I don't think it's good enough just to have seeds one place where you have to get all the way up to, over to India or over to Norway. Who knows how that would even be possible? And maybe all these arks wouldn't survive because it depends upon the apocalyptic event that happens and where it happens. But if we have arks, and if the academy is a part of that, maybe some of them will survive. And maybe we'll have the seeds of education and engineering and art and music and medicine and all this in one contained area. Well, I have to be honest with you. When I shared the idea with the CTC, I got kind of a glazed look. And they said, oh, yeah, we did invite you here, didn't we? And they shared with me about the national stockpiles. So they couldn't quite see any kind of planning or thought about taking that step. And yes, there's all kinds of challenges. But I believe at least we could talk about it. At least we could begin to write the story. And what if the story actually gets written, and many, many years after that, if it gets written, you know what? People are going to talk about it. They're going to say, our ancestors, hundreds of years ago, had this insane idea of having universities as arks. And by that, I don't mean just the university. I talked to the CDC about partnering with them and partnering with the National Institute of Health and having connections with hospitals. So you don't necessarily have to have a contained campus. It's not an ark that's framed up by wood. And what if later they say, you know what, our ancestors, they imagined something, they dreamed something, they made it happen, and because they did, we're still here. We have had 5 mass extinction events in the history of the world that we know for sure. Those are apocalypses, the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. One of those was so massive, it killed plant, animals, and everything, 95% of what was on the world then. Think about it. Everything we have now comes out of that 5%. What we will have after the next apocalyptic event, after the next mass extinction event, will come out of the remnant, will come out of the seeds that have been preserved by people thinking ahead. That's all I have to say. What I'd like to do is, thank you. So I brought my little seed pouch here. I didn't have time to make up individual seed packets. I was going to give those out. Nice idea, but not the time. I'll tell you what I want to do, since we actually still have about 12 minutes. I want you actually just to talk with one another for a minute, what your thoughts are, whatever they are, and then we'll kind of like open it up for some general commentary and discussion. So take the next, 3 or 4 minutes. Just talk with one another.
What's that?
Nothing. It was just the storm.
I'm afraid.
Don't worry. We'll be okay. I promise.
But we've never been out this far. Can we just go back, please?
Dom said we can't stop until we fill them all. We have to keep going.
we now have a non-credit registration where members of the general public can take this course in the summer. It runs the first part of the summer for like 6 or 7 weeks. And instead of costing $1,500 for 3 credits, you can do it for $500. And we have people starting to sign up from all over the world for this. So we're updating our website. If you go to zombie.msu.edu, you can send us a message through the Contact Us. There's a place where you can send a message. We still need to update the dates and make some of those links live for next summer's course. So I just wanted you to know that. All right, thank you.